Okay, let me talk about my backstory and my experience that led up to my decision of having a VBAC after 3C-section. My first baby I had was through C-section. My pregnancy was fine, just my iron level was low, and I had my iron tablets and everything was fine. Pregnancy was fine, normal sickness and everything. First trimester, throwing up and the rest. Second trimester was fine, tired, just normal pregnancy symptoms. It wasn't like great, I wasn't like high or anything, but it was fine. Third trimester too was fine, just heavy and the rest, and I didn't know anything. I kept on asking people for help, like my parent, my mom, or if they have anything. They just said, oh, just towards the end, just make sure you get close to your husband, do the deed. That does help. There wasn't anything that anyone was saying. I wasn't really religiously reading stuff, because I just felt, oh, my body can do it. My mom did it, so my body can do it. I did go for exercise, like for a walk and the rest, but I wasn't religiously doing anything. I ate pineapple, I can remember that. And I went for my hospital appointments, midwife, scan, and the rest. I did everything that was required. And they advised me that if the baby doesn't arrive by the estimated due date, I'll get induced. I was like, okay, is that safe? I said yes. Okay. So I already had the induction date in my head that, oh, they're going to help me out. If my baby doesn't come at the estimated due date, the hospital will help me out. So I was excited. Anyway, I did have contractions. Labor started normal, but it was just, they keep on saying, oh, when you feel anything, just come straight to the hospital, which is what I did. I felt contractions. They were not strong contractions. They were just painful a little bit that I could deal with. Now I know I can deal with it, but then I didn't know. I just felt, oh, tell you to come to the hospital, so let's go to the hospital. We went to the hospital. They told me, oh, you're not dilated enough, you should go back home. Went back home. Contractions got stronger. I was thinking, let's just go to the hospital again and just stay there. It's better to stay there than to go home. To be honest, I can't remember how dilated I was when they admitted me for my first baby, but I know they admitted me. My water hadn't broken, so everything was still intact. I had no business being in the hospital, but I was there and they admitted me. They told me they can give me epidural. I was like, anything to just get the pain off. I wasn't given any coping mechanism, no paracetamol, nothing, just straight on epidural. I don't know if I had gas on air. I think I did, but it wasn't helping. Okay, it wasn't helping much. Or I thought it wasn't helping because I didn't know better. So I was there for a while. I don't know how long I was there for. They broke my waters. They said it could help get things along quickly. And they did break my water, and they said, oh, the baby had pooped. Yeah, so meconium, but a little bit of meconium in the water, and they have to watch me. I was like, okay, that's fine. And they kept on saying, okay, but there was nothing. I can't remember anybody doing anything extraordinary. I just know that my husband was calling to ask for, help at home, for them to give us tips on what to do while in the hospital, but nobody was really helping. next thing they said was, oh, the baby's heartbeat is going down and they have to do a C-section. I was like, oh, I don't want to do a C-section. Is there anything else we can do? He's like, we're sorry, baby heart is going down, we have to do a C-section. I'm like, I'm not doing a C-section. He's like, that's the only thing we can do, that's the only thing we can offer you right now. I started crying. I don't want to do a C-section. Anyway, long story short, they gave me the epidural. I think they gave me the epidural before everything was fine, before they offered for a C-section. I don't know how long I was in there for, but I know I was offered a C-section. And the next thing, we had to sign and go for the C-section. And I kept on telling them that because of my skin, any scar I have turns to a keloid. But no one was listening to that. Anyway, they did do this cesarean. They did the operation. Baby was fine. Everyone was happy. But of course, my scar turned to a big keloid, which no one helped out. Nothing. There was no aftercare. Nothing. They've done what they have to do, and that's it. They left alone to pick up the pieces, the pain, the not being able to stand up, and the rest. But you're happy you have your baby. So a couple of years later, like 2 years later, I got pregnant with my second child. I knew a bit better, and I knew that I wanted to have a vaginal birth. I read a bit. I got the yoga ball. I did the walking, the getting close to your partner, and everything was going on fine. I had the herbal soap as well, but I don't think I used it much. I used it a bit, and I just felt like, oh, my body can do it, but I used it. I was using it to have my bath, so I think my body was softened. Everything was fine. There was no problem at all with my second pregnancy. The only thing that there was a problem with is I wasn't aware of what happens at the hospital. They are thinking. I was not aware of it much. I didn't speak to anybody about VBAC. I just said I was going to have a vaginal birth, and they were all fine with it. Nobody said anything. I didn't know I was even seeing the consultant. I didn't know that I had more appointments than usual. I just went for everything that I was told to go for. And no one was saying anything about, even if they mentioned, are you sure you're going to have a vaginal birth? I'm sure I wasn't taking it serious, like, oh, they wouldn't allow me or stuff like that, no. So my baby did not come, 41 weeks, and they were like, okay, we have to arrange an induction day for you. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with induction. If it's to help the baby, why not? 41 weeks. I had a day for induction. I was happy. Did everything else a day before. Nothing. I wasn't really like doing anything because the environment at home was fine. We had someone to take care of the toddler we had, and everything was fine. The house was calm. We had help, so nothing to worry about. We went for the induction in the morning. I think they gave me 9 a.m. or so, and we were there all throughout, and nobody saw us. I don't know why we stayed. It's just, maybe we were just naive. We stayed. We should have gone home, chilled, and just wait for them to call us to come for induction. But we stayed at the hospital. No one forced us. We stayed. And by 10:30, 11, I think my contractions start around that time. because by 10:30 I was already having contractions on and off throughout the day. I would do all the positions, just thinking about it now. I did everything that I've read you should do. Leaning on the bed, rocking your hips side to side. My husband helping me when I have contractions, but it was just light contractions, nothing to worry about. So 10:30 my husband was like, I'm going to go home and just check on the house and then eat something as well, because all the food we brought is finished, and then I can bring something for you. I don't know why I didn't go with him. As soon as I left, 11 o'clock, I just felt I wanted to go to the toilet. I went to the toilet. I felt I was sitting down and nothing was coming out, but I felt the urge to squat, and I did squat, and I just felt like there was something down there. I felt the urge to push, to poop, and I went back to my bed, pressed the button. Before I knew it, they came, they checked me. All I heard was that you have to go to the labor ward now, and they took me to a room. It was dark, and I just said, I have to call my husband. But the contractions were so bad. They gave me gas and air. I was breathing through it, but I didn't have that coping mechanism of trying to, be in labor and understanding what was happening, which is very important. That's what I realized. It's very important for you to be in control. If not, they would make decisions for you, and it might not be the right decisions for you. So I was just going and screaming, and the next thing I heard was that, you're already 8 centimeters dilated, and we need to take you to the theater now because you've had CS. I'm like, no, I am having a vaginal birth. They're like, no, you're not having a vaginal birth. You've had a cesarean before, and we're going to have to take you to the... When they realized that I was trying to be stubborn, they just said, oh, the baby's heartbeat is dropping, and for that reason I have to make the call. I said, okay, if the baby heart is dropping, how about my cesarean scar? It's turned to keloid. It's going to be too much stress on the scar, and there will be more scarring. They're like, okay, we're going to put that into consideration. We'll look for someone that can help with the scarring, but we have to take the baby out now. And that's what they did. I called my husband and said, he has to come now. They're rushing me to the theater to take the baby out. And they gave me the epidural, and they took the baby out. They did the C-section, and they closed me up. They tried their best. They said they were going to use a different stitch that would not scar as much as the normal stitch. It was not, it did help, but it was not the right thing to do, because after the C-section, the stitches were so different. They had to be taken it out one by one, which was so painful. It was so painful to take the stitches out, because they couldn't use dissolving stitch because of my skin condition. So I went through the second cesarean, and the baby was fine. Everybody was fine. I was happy. Everybody was happy. Years later, so we're talking about between third baby and second baby and the third baby, we're talking about 6 to 7 years gap. I decided to have another baby in a different hospital. Told them my history, told them how I was robbed of my vaginal delivery, especially at the second birth, whereby there was no problem with me, but I was given a C-section because I was a C-section mom. And they're like, oh, they don't do that at this hospital. They're going to try their best to make sure that everything is fine for me. I said I wanted a VBAC. Now I know better. I know what a VBAC is. I'm older. I'm wiser. I know what a VBAC is, and that's what I want. They're like, oh yeah, why not? We support VBAC, and we're going to help you the best way we can. And it would be good for our hospital if someone actually eventually has a VBAC after 2 C-sections. I was like, okay, it would be good for your numbers. Anyway, they said, but you have to go into labor yourself, or we would induce you when you're 41 weeks if you go longer. I said, okay, that's fine. Just call when you're 41 weeks. We'll try and find a date for you. I said, okay. They called the consultant, the head of the consultant, to speak to me, and he explained to me the procedure for induction. That because I've had a cesarean, they're going to use a balloon, a rod, not the balloon one. The rod, they'll put it inside, and the rod will soak up the water and get bigger or something, and that way it would trigger contractions. So I was like, okay, that's fine, it's safe, it will be better for you. I said, okay, why not? So I got past 41 weeks. I told them my children don't come early. I don't think the dates are always right, and we have to put an emphasis on estimated due date. It can be way before, it can be way after. They are just estimating. And that's when I realized that I'm not going to go by that. I'm going to go by when my body says okay. But 41 weeks, baby wasn't coming. I got tired. I'd done everything. I drank castor oil. It just gave me constipation. It just gave me diarrhea. I went walking, did the deed, pineapple, dates, everything. It just wasn't working. I would have a few contractions here and there, but it wasn't anything major. So I got disappointed. So when it was the date they gave me for induction, I called in. They said, oh, there's no bed yet, but I should come in. I came in, they checked me, and they were like, oh, sorry, I don't think you qualify for the kind of induction that was written in your notes. We would have to, you have to come back the next day and we'll see what we can do. We would speak to the consultant about your situation, and then we'll see what we can do. Like, why? Okay, I'll come the next day. Next day, I was in the room. I was having contractions. They were checking my contractions. They were saying it that you're having contractions. It's just not strong enough. But what we can do is we can break your water, and that would help get things around. It happened to me before. I was like, okay, maybe this time around it will be better. It will be different. I've done everything that I have to do. Just have to put it in their hands again. This is a different hospital. Maybe they have different techniques. Maybe it will work. Well, they broke my water. There was a bit of meconium in there as well. And they were like, okay, I said, what would you do now? I said, we're just going to leave you and see if contractions come and if the contractions get stronger. So I wasn't given anything to help contractions than just breaking my water. All through the day, because they broke it in the afternoon, all through the day nothing happened and then when the contractions started coming, I had a back labor because my baby was facing the wrong position. So back labor. And throughout the night it was getting really bad. I was asking for the things I've written down in my birth note, which was to be in the betting pool during contractions, and secondly to not be on the bed. I wanted to be mobile. I wanted to help my body get to that position, get to that stage whereby I can actually progress. But when the night nurse came, they said, "Oh, sorry, love, we just have to put you on the bed because we can't really read anything on the mobile monitor. You have to be on the bed." I said, "I don't want to be on the bed." But I was tired. I wanted to sleep, so I was on the bed. I didn't progress much. It was just contractions. And then in the morning, another midwife came in and took over. She was a black midwife. And she was like, she will help me the best that she can. Because I kept on telling my husband that she should tell her. And she was like, "Alright, let's get this baby." And I was like, "Yes, please, I don't mind any help I can get," because everybody else has just been leaving me and going and back and forth. And she gave me a drip. She said it was paracetamol through the drip and it will help me with pains. But the back labor, I kept on telling my husband to make sure that it presses my back whenever I have contractions. And the consultants, the students, they kept on coming in and out. Even when I asked not to be checked, they did not listen. They just kept on checking me. I had 6 centimeter dilated, 5 centimeter. The last one they did was I was 8 centimeter dilated, and they said they were going to give me 5 hours, which was the next day. 5 hours or 4 hours. That if I don't go into labor, I don't progress to 10 centimeter, or get the baby out, then they will have to do a C-section. I said I'm not doing a C-section. Anyway, before the time was up, they came and they kept on pressuring me. My husband was not there. Kept on saying I'm not going to have a cesarean. What they did was they went to look for a black doctor and told him to come and speak to me. A Nigerian doctor was to come and speak to me, and then he kept on pressuring me. I was so tired, I just gave up and said, "Okay, cesarean it is then." I wasn't happy about it at all. So we went for the C-section. So the heart rate, same thing they say all the time. The heart rate is dropping. And the heart rate is dropping. I realized that sometimes your position makes the heart rate drop. You change position and the heart rate is fine. The stress that the external forces are putting on you as well can make the baby's heart rate to drop because the mom is in distress. So many things causes the heart rate to drop, and they know that, and they know that they can actually make sure the heart rate is dropping by pressuring you, by disturbing you, by not making you have a good mental stability. That way, on their own writing, they can say the reason why they did this C-section is because the heart rate dropped and there has to be covered. That's just the way it goes. So they did this C-section and they transferred me to the recovery. I kept on telling them about the keloid, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to do a stitch that would help with the keloid." Okay. So what they did, they tried their best, they did the stitch, but I later found out that they did this when they opened me up. The baby was head down, but they felt that the baby was so head down. So if they had waited for me, I would have had the baby via vaginal birth. The baby was so head down that they had to give birth to the baby by giving birth to the leg first, so turning the baby and making sure that the leg comes out, and then they were able to pull the head of the baby out of the birth canal. They're experimenting on me because they're just not patient enough to let nature take its course. And in Africa, you don't even it's not right for you to give birth and the leg comes first. Nature was already doing its thing, but they decided that they were going to experiment. They didn't know what they were going to do, but they just did whatever it is, and they felt that they were saving my life, but they were going against tradition, they were going against nature. So they had to turn the baby around and bring the baby's leg out first before they could pull the head out of the birth canal. And these things are dangerous. As much as being natural, having vaginal birth can cause complications, we don't talk about the complications that we face during C-section. They say that because they are in there, they can correct any mistake they make. They had to make another incision, which I found out later. And I realized that my 4th pregnancy, I'm seeing another keloid somewhere. I'm like, I can't remember having any scar there. But when I was having a consultation on my 4th pregnancy at the same hospital, that was when they told me about how my 3rd baby was being brought to life. How they had to turn the baby because the baby was not right for a C-section. The baby was already in the position for a natural birth, but they were already in there and they can't close me up and say go and labor. They had to take the baby out and they had to turn the baby and give birth to the leg. Pull the baby out by the legs first and then pull up the baby's head out of the birth canal, which isn't right. But until when something goes wrong, that's when they are going to bring out all your notes, and then you can see the atrocities the hospitals commit sometimes, all in this name of they want to have this operation. They push for C-section just to get practice and use us all the time. I was during the C-section, after the C-section, when I was in the recovery room, a lady came and she was like, oh, you're the lady that everyone has been talking about that doesn't want to have a C-section. Why don't you want to have a C-section? Everybody likes a C-section. They were looking everywhere for someone that speaks your language because they know that you're Nigerian, but they don't know what part of Nigeria you are. If you're Yoruba or Igbo, they were looking for someone that can speak your language. Your name doesn't say much about where you're from. So I was like, wow. So instead of you to be looking for someone to help me and help me get in the right position, give me more time, help me dilate faster and get in the right position to give birth, you're worried about what to talk me into having a cesarean. I just thought that, thank you. That man proposes, but God disposes. I guess it was not meant to be. And she just left me. And I was like, wow. Okay. Thank you all for your service. They said the baby had an infection. They had to check on the infection and they had to check on my infection as well. Of course, you could have infection. Being checked while your water has been broken can cause infection. And that was I was telling them to stop checking. But they said it's hospital procedure. They have to check how dilated I am before they can let me know how long they will let me stay for. And that was it. I went home 7 days later. Baby was fine. There was no infection, but they just wanted to keep us in there to just monitor us, and of course they didn't want any problem, they didn't want to be sued or anything, so they wanted to make sure that they crossed all the dots and make sure that everything was perfect before they let us go. We went home and everything was fine. The baby, I was breastfeeding. I always breastfeed all my babies. Breastfed my baby. All the checks was perfect. He had the immunizations and everything. So I knew that I wasn't going to wait too long to have the fourth baby. So that I can remember all the things that I went through with the third baby. And again, get it over with this last baby, and that's it. So I was breastfeeding. I didn't get pregnant all throughout breastfeeding. I had to stop when the baby was 1 year old, and I got pregnant afterwards. So like a month or two after stopping to breastfeed, I got pregnant. So everything was going fine. I knew what I wanted from day one. I told my husband, he said, just go for an elective C-section. Let's just walk in and walk out with the baby. Plan everything and everything will be fine. I was like, no, I'm not going to give anybody the satisfaction. And I really want to do it for myself as well. Knowing everything that I've learned, knowing everything I've seen, and knowing how the hospital just covers their own ass and not what the patient wants, and generalizing the whole thing as well, and saying once a C-section, always a C-section. Not even worrying about your own mental health, that the reason why you want a vaginal birth is because you just want to do something for yourself, and your body can do it, but it's just nobody is helping you to do it, and everybody is sabotaging. So I did that. I didn't say anything. They asked me from day one, oh, you're going to have a C-section, right? I said, okay, yeah. So for all my midwife appointments, I didn't say anything. But I told them I didn't want a consultant appointment. I didn't want a doctor appointment. I want my scan. I want midwife appointment, but I don't want a doctor's appointment. So at some point, you have to go for a doctor's appointment. I said, okay, I'll go towards the end. But I don't want anybody saying anything negative. So I kept on going for my midwife appointment. When I was at the end of the second trimester, I told them, I think I was my third trimester, yeah. I told them that I'm planning on having a vaginal birth. They're like, wow, after 3 C-sections? I said, yes. And I'm planning on having it at home because I don't want any hospital shenanigans. I wasn't happy with my hospital experience. I was tired. They'll give you the food, they will leave it there. Even though you're tired and you're sleeping, the food will be cold by the time you're awake. And you have no choice but to eat it when you're hungry. They kept on opening the curtains back and forth instead of you having precious moments with your child and breastfeeding your child. They kept on opening the curtains for 7 days there. It wasn't nice at all. That was when I knew that hospitals were just not the right place for birthing at all and for taking care of babies or for new mothers. It wasn't nice. So I didn't want to have the hospital experience. If I could avoid it, I don't mind avoiding it. So the midwife said, okay, but you are consultant led because you've had 3 C-sections. I said, okay, but I have read and I'm aware that I can choose to be with a consultant and I can choose to be with a midwife, even though they assign a consultant to me. And the funniest thing is that every time they assign a consultant to you, you don't even end up seeing the consultant at your appointment. You only see a junior doctor most of the time. The consultant always comes in maybe when there's a problem, like you saying you want a VBA3C, and then they call the consultant who is actually in the building but refuses not to see you because they don't feel you're important enough until when you tell them exactly what you want, and that's when they create time to see you. Okay? So I said, I'm okay with a midwife, okay? So they did the home birth planning. I had the kids, and that's when everything started, they started putting pressure on me that I need to see the consultant. I said, okay, when I'm 36 to 38 weeks, I'll see the consultant. That way I know I'm close to giving birth, and whatever it is they bring, I can take it. I did all my research. I knew exactly what they were going to say. Watched videos of women that had VBAC after 3 C-sections. So I watched it, and to be honest, that really helped a lot, because exactly the things they said to those women were said to me. And every pregnant woman is not the same. You can have similar symptoms, but it's like they know exactly what they want to say, and they say it to everybody. And it's a gamble. Some of us are gullible to listen, and some of us know our body a lot more now and we don't listen. And that was my case. So I saw the first appointment they gave me. I was meant to see the consultant. I waited 1.5 hours. My husband was waiting as well. He wanted to be there. When I was called, I saw a junior doctor that I had seen before. The same junior doctor that convinced me to have a C-section was the one they assigned to me. I smiled at him. I listened to him. But I told him, I'm not having a cesarean. I would go for a vaginal birth. He called the consultant. It wasn't the consultant assigned to me, someone else. And the man came in and said, vaginal birth after 3 C-sections, are you even crazy? No, you can't do that. We don't allow that. I said, okay, well, I know you don't allow that, but that's what I want. So what are we going to do now? He was shocked. And he said, okay, then you have to be coming every week. Every day. I can't come every day to the hospital. I've got kids. I've got a family. I've got a life. I said, okay, every week. I said, okay, book an appointment. I won't just come, that's all. So I left, and I kept on going for my midwife appointment. They don't check my cervix, because they decided, the midwife told me they were going to check my cervix at 39 weeks, but they want me to see the consultant first, my assigned consultant. She called me. I said, I should please come. So I went to see the consultant at 38 weeks or so, and she did a scan. The baby was fine, everything was fine, the uterus was fine, everything, the lining was fine. But she was like, we still have to advise you to do a C-section, because we've never done this before, and for that reason we would advise for a C-section. I said, okay, but I'm not going to go for a C-section. If I'm to go for a C-section, I would like it to be 42 weeks before I can consider a C-section. Anything before that, I don't want it. They tried to convince me, giving me all the terminologies that I've heard before. Your uterine lining might be too thin, your uterus might rupture, and I told them it's only 0.1%. She said, no, for you that have had 3 C-sections, it's 0.4%. I said, okay, 0.4% out of 100% is nothing. And I can have a uterine rupture while on the operating table too, because I've had a previous C-section. They said, true, but we'll be there to monitor and do anything possible. But if you have going to labor at home, we won't be there. And they convinced me not to have a home birth, that I should come to the hospital the slightest feel of a contraction. I was like, okay. So they convinced me to book an appointment for a cesarean at 40 weeks. They gave me a date. On the date of the cesarean, they gave me a date for a pre-op as well. I refused to go for a pre-op, so they knew that I wasn't going to come for the cesarean if I didn't come for the pre-op. Everyone was calling me. The midwife turned up at my house, and I watched the video of a lady, she's Nigerian as well, that the same thing happened to her. They turned up, I think her name was Sarah. They turned up at her door to say, is she okay? She didn't turn up for her cesarean. So I knew exactly what was happening. I told my husband not to open the door for them, that I didn't call them to come, so I'm not interested in seeing anybody, but I'm going to call them. So I sent an email to the midwife that was in charge of my case, because the midwife that was in charge of my case told me that she was going to help me through giving birth naturally if I go into labor before 40 weeks, before my assigned CS date. And she told me everything that they've done differently. Everywhere is calm. They have a diffuser, they have a yoga ball, they have the lights. And I was like, you have all of this, but what about the people? Are they going to help me? Because I want to be mobile, I want to be walking, I want to be on all fours, I want to try different positions. He said, yeah. But only condition is that they can only offer all of these things if I go into labor naturally by 40 weeks. I was like, but I don't believe in that date. I believe that I might be 2 weeks over. I think my date is farther than that. For me, I feel that the hospital date is about 2 weeks or so, or more or less, than my actual birth date. And they were like, no, we have to go by the date of the scan. I was like, okay. So I didn't turn up for the CS, and I sent an email to the midwife saying she should respect my wishes and leave my family. Let us just enjoy the pregnancy and see how my body does. And if they have a date at 42 weeks, I'm happy to have it. And I'll continue with the midwife appointments. And that was what I did. I continued with the midwife appointments. They told the midwife not to check my cervix. So I asked for a cervix check. They said no, because the consultant says no. But they're going to ask her again, and she still repeated it and said no. They can't offer me a cervical check because they don't want to trigger anything. And that was how I went through my pregnancy without no cervical check, which I'm happy about. No sweep, nothing, no help than just to check that the baby is fine, just to measure me and prescribe iron tablets for me so I can keep on my iron levels, even though I was using other medications as well. And that was what I went through my pregnancy till having the baby, which is in the part 1 of how I went into labor and now I had my baby. And what I've learned, if you're just starting your pregnancy life, you have to understand these things. You have to know your body. I know that you don't know your body that much because you've never been pregnant before. But you have to listen to your body and watch videos of people that have had cesarean, people that have had vaginal birth after cesarean. Even though this is your first baby or your second baby or your third baby, you have to know all these scenarios so that when it's coming to you, you understand all the jargons that they would say to you, and you would try to weigh it with what your situation is. As long as they haven't found anything, even the things they find, I've seen many people call different names. I don't even know how to pronounce them. That they give to them that, oh, you're this, you're that, you have low blood pressure, you have high blood pressure, you have, your cervix is too small, is not opened. All these things can be solved with positions, with drugs, with natural remedies. I've seen people say that they go to the hospital and they say that their blood pressure is too low, and they used all these herbs which is meant to be used to control stuff, and everything comes back to normal. You have to try those things first, because the hospital will just cut you open. They will invade your privacy. When you go for vaginal birth, they would not give you positions to use to help. They will just do what they feel that they can do that will result to CS, and you pay your bills. They get their money, but you have to up yourself before you get there. It's like going to the exam hall. You have to read, you have to practice, because the examiner will just be there to examine you and mark your papers and give you your results. It's whatever you do that would help you. That's one thing I've realized and one thing I've learned. And I did induce my labor for my fourth baby. If you watch the part 1 of this video, I induced my labor by myself. I wouldn't advise it because everybody keeps on saying castor oil is dangerous, but so is breaking your waters, so is using the things they use, the gels they use to induce your labor. So is medically inducing your labor. They use many different methods. So are those things as well. And castor oil has been used for centuries, and it works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. Just like induction of labor, when you go for induction, it does not work most of the time. They have to keep giving you different doses, different stuff, and stop at the end of the day, and because you're too exhausted to continue, and they give you CS. So I believe that for everybody, you just have to read, watch other people's stories, understand what is happening to your body, understand that you can go far enough as long as that you're not in any danger that you know of or you can see, and let your partner be aware as well so that they can have your back. They shouldn't be scared of the doctors and the environment, and don't go to the hospital too early. That's another thing. It doesn't help as well. There's no enough oxytocin in there to help you progress in labor. Only if you have a medical condition, in my own. But going there to just for them to help you and put you out of your misery, you might end up having a CS. CS is not bad. Elective CS is, I support it. But when you don't want to have it, then you are at the wrong place for having a vaginal birth. That's what I know. People are giving birth at home. I had a baby at home and I enjoyed it. I was even interrupted by calling the ambulance, but I understood what was going on a lot more. There wasn't anybody going up and down, scaring me, trying to give me drip or asking me if I wanted epidural or anything. I supported myself, and if I had someone at home, they would have supported me too. So they talked me out of having a home birth, a planned home birth, but I ended up having a spontaneous home birth, which was fine for me. So learn about everything, watch videos, read, and you'll understand the birthing experience a lot more. Nobody is saying CS is bad, but for people that don't want it, that don't need it, because I had my baby and the next day, fine, I had headache, which was, I didn't expect that. But the next day I could still move around and still do some few things, cook my own food, eat my own food. I wasn't bedridden. I didn't have any extra pain in my back from having epidural. The only thing I had was they gave me injection because I've had C-section before. In my last C-section, I had to have an injection for I think 30 days, but this time around I had it for 10 days for blood clots, to prevent blood clots. Everything is preventing, but they don't prevent some things, they only do it afterwards because the studies have not. So basically only the things that the studies have shown them can they do. Anything that has not been studied, they don't do it, and you're on your own. So you just have to read, learn, and just know your body, understand your circle, and understand that estimated due date. You can go into labor before, you can go into labor after, but know how to time your contractions and know when to go to the hospital. That's my advice for everybody, either first pregnancy, second, third, or fourth, because every pregnancy is different, and you might have had a vaginal delivery for 3, and the fourth one you go through this and you have no clue on what you're getting yourself into. So I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, just ask me in the comment section.